Hello and welcome to my channel. Before we get into the drawing process, I went to Anime North, which is kind of how I got inspired to draw this Gundam Miku. So this time around I went with like a large group of friends to Anime North, and since a bunch of them are into Gundams, I actually got to see the Gundams more in detail and was like looking at all the custom ones that people made, and I thought that was really sick. Since they enjoy it so much, you know, my algorithm kept pushing more Gundam stuff, and I've been like thinking they were super cool, and maybe it'd be a kind of a fun challenge to actually try and build my own. I mean, like, buy a kit, obviously, and build that. And my friend kept asking me when I'm gonna buy one. And I was thinking, oh, right after my vacation, I definitely will. But then literally 2 days before my vacation, I actually applied to get a table at Game Expo Toronto, which I got. So now I have to haul ass and make a lot of merch because I don't know how long certain things will take to actually get delivered to me, with also Canada Post being an ass and everything. So yeah, it looks like my Gundam building dreams will have to wait until Christmas. But yeah, as I said, this Anime North was definitely the inspiration for this drawing. I also hadn't seen a whole lot of fan art for Gundam stuff in Artist Alley, and I know that they were actually particularly looking at it, looking for some stuff. There was, you know, always a lot of Genshin fan art, which kind of makes sense considering how popular it is. But I personally, too, was looking for fan art of other stuff, just because I have like a lot of nostalgia for all the animes I did watch in the past, like Inuyasha and Card Captors, especially. That's like my first one, and you know, awesome. Sailor Moon, there's I think a decent. I don't know if there was like a decent amount this year, but I definitely remember for a couple of cons that I've been to, there was a decent amount. And yeah, there's Full Metal Alchemist also. I think I didn't really see anything of that. Thankfully, there's like always a couple of artists that I know that seem to do some of those like nostalgia ones. So I did manage to get an Inuyasha and a Sesshomaru keychain, which that's kind of what my goal hilariously was. I also bought a lot of original art, just because I also love to see that, and I love to like support that as well. I mean, I love all the fan art. Everybody does a great job. It's just, you know, you can only buy so much Genshin. I had also cosplayed for the first time ever. I had always wanted to as a kid, but I think my parents were never really into it. Now they didn't seem to find it weird at all. So I feel like any animosity towards anime as a past when I was a kid was mostly probably because I was just being really shit and avoiding doing much schoolwork and my grades were suffering. So they just blamed everything, or were trying to, you know, as parents do, try to, you know, punish you and ban everything to try and motivate you to actually do schoolwork. In terms of the actual artwork, I had originally done a quick pencil crayon sketch in my sketchbook, and I really liked it, but I noticed that the eye was a little wonky, so I scanned it. I did the I fixed it up, obviously the line art digitally, and then I transferred it via light table. Or Lightpad. I meant Lightpad. I keep saying light table for some weird reason. So this was originally a sketch in my sketchbook, and I had originally done it with the same colors, actually, just pencil crayons. But because it looked a little wonky and it was on the small side, and when you do kind of want to make stickers and you're doing like traditional art, it's still better to do something like a little bit more oversized when you're drawing them and then shrinking them down, at least because in my experience, anytime I did it with closer to actual size, it still didn't really turn out very crisp. So I actually wanted to make this as kind of like a surprise sticker for my friends because they love Gundam, and one of them we keep jokingly say is like a mega Miku fan. So I thought this was kind of like a fun combination. I also am in the process of practicing and trying to draw some Gundam stickers. It'll be just like the head of a Gundam or something for them, because I noticed that when they were looking around, and one of them in particular, there wasn't that much really Gundam merch in the artist alley. Like, There was just maybe like one of like from the Witch of Mercury, but it was like mostly focused on the character, not so much of the Gundam at all. And thanks to them, the algorithm also sent me some artist that does watercolor paintings of Gundams, and it looks super cool. So it's kind of inspirational, and it's really cool, like when you're looking at them, how they look. And it's, I mean, it is really challenging as somebody who doesn't even draw like vehicles or anything like that, of like sharper edge things. It's a challenge, but it's kind of a fun challenge, as I've already done one painting that I had given to a friend for their birthday, just because they really, really liked it. It wasn't like Gundams, I mean, not my painting itself. Ooh, now the hair. Wow, that was very stressful and panicky at the same time. I feel like it was a mix of enjoying myself, but then realizing slowly, wait, I have no idea how to paint hair. I suck at this. I mean, I did have references for sure, a bunch of like Miku image references, because I don't really have a lot of experience drawing anime hair well. And I was freaking out. I'm not even sure if all the footage there is there where I was like blotting stuff out. I might have like paused the video at certain points, and when there's like the cut to the side view, it's probably because there was like in-betweens of like even having to wait for the paper to dry and like redo some parts and like blotting some parts. I think in general what it mostly was the base layer should have probably been a little bit darker, like a little bit more color to it, as opposed to such an incredibly light wash. I still enjoy how it turned out, but the panic part was mostly that, because sometimes when I'm doing like the darker parts and so detailed like that, the trouble is, like, if you're gonna do another like wash and wanting to make it darker, you don't want anything to lift or get like ruined by like any of the like perfect lines that I was like doing, or like at least perfectly the way I wanted them to be. There's also, I guess, this rest of like, oh, there's two ponytails. Now I'm liking the way the one on the left looks. How am I gonna do the one on the right? Am I gonna totally fuck this up? It's it was definitely one of those like stressful balancing acts, especially if you do one darker, if you do one way. I was like wondering, I'm like, how is this one twisting? What did I think here? What did I think there? I also have seen people just use much smaller brushes, even from like the get-go of painting, or closer to the not quite middle stage, but sooner. And I decided to have a go at it because of just being able to do like the finer details, as this isn't a very large piece to begin with. I also forgot to mention that I did go with hot press paper, just because since it is smaller, I didn't want any of the texture of the paper to fight with any of the finer detail lines, as I always find like texture paper sometimes can really mess with those kinds of details in certain situations. And especially if you're going to make a sticker, and at least in my opinion, the way I do it, I prefer the smooth paper. So another funny thing about like going with a large group of people, I think there was only like 4 of us together, and then there was like probably another group somewhere else together. So it wasn't just one large entity, a mass of people just like going through the hall or some craziness. But yeah, it was just a fun experience and a different one from my other con going experiences so far. I mean, at Fan Expo, I think for 2023, I had gone completely alone, which was nice and chill. I was like a little bit worried because there was going to be a lot of people there, like how I was going to take it or something. I'm not really averse to crowds or anything like that, but it's still a lot, right? And yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But I did want to attend a lot of panels at Fan Expo. I really wanted to go to those, so I enjoyed that. And it was kind of nice when you're kind of by yourself, then you don't really feel weird like breaking off from anybody. But in this case, for Anime North, when I had checked all the panels, they were all like, I could go, but it's okay if I miss this kind of thing. It was never I really wanted to kind of go thing. I know there was like a couple of people who did want to go to certain panels and did see those and had fun. But for me, I always really like enjoy the more like, I guess, art panels kind of things, because Fan Expo had a lot of comic artists doing demos and talking about like their art process, which to me is always like the most fascinating stuff like that. Like there was a bunch of like cosplay making ones. I thought it would be kind of fun to attend, but because I'm not really planning to cosplay like again, or I would just wear the same Momo one that I already like have put together, and I didn't even sew all of it. I just like sewed the pink shirt, and that's about it. And the bow was a lot of fun. It was like a little bit of a challenge putting all the pieces together, just because I was trying to make sure that the bow would fall properly and wouldn't like get in any way or something like that. And it would be very simple, but it was still like fairly simple work and nothing to really brag about entirely. So I think also originally, I think I was mostly going to be fine with using watercolors, and then certain colors, like for the red, I was going to use the gouache, because I like the gouache red that I have of Holbein, as opposed to the red Daniel Smith one that I got in the palette that I had bought once, just because it's more orangey, like way more orangey or something, and I don't like the way it looks. Another color of Daniel Smith is the ultramarine blue, which I think I did like maybe the base layer for the blue parts, but I actually hate that ultramarine blue. I think I'm just gonna kick it out of my palette, because often when I use it, I just don't like it, and for some reason it just cannot get like a good opaque, or not quite opaque, but a much deeper like ultramarine blue that you could typically get even with watercolor itself. So I just went with my ultramarine gouache instead. I think probably early on. I'm not even sure in the end if I even used the watercolor itself. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this with the ultramarine blue for Daniel Smith, but it is so shit. The one that came with the palette, it's just it's awful. The quality compared to other Daniel Smith paints, like pan paints that I bought, and both tube paints, for some reason it is so crappy. Like the quality is just weird. It's like grainy. Maybe there was just like something wrong with the pouring, or just that particular one. And yeah, I mean, I've used it in a couple of instances of just like mixing with different blues, and that is fine. But it itself, when you just want that like beautiful ultramarine color, I don't know. I just can never get it. I always have to go to my gouache for it. And I'm just happy at least I do have the gouache, since I keep forgetting to replace like the watercolor ultramarine blue itself. But once I was getting to the details of this artwork, I was really having more fun and was like not as panicked about it, just because it was coming together. So the ugly phase was over, and I had survived making the hair, or painting the hair rather. So it was definitely now time for the fun phase. Except for shading the white parts, I'm always a little bit like stressed out about just like getting the colors right for shading it, and if it looks right. And in terms of the gouache that I do use, it's all Holbein, especially for this piece. I just have the cool primaries and warm primaries and a couple of convenient colors. But for this one, I use the ultramarine blue, flame red, and I'm pretty sure it's like warm yellow or something like that. I really like how the gouache just reactivates really well, and for my use case, I barely need to keep adding from the tube fresh, as I always kind of have the dried up ones on hand as well to work with, and they really come out like beautifully opaque even when reactivated. And the artwork is finally complete. If you've gotten this far and enjoyed, I hope you can drop a like, and if you would like to see more, subscribe. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.